What's that? I know that laugh.
It's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvellous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello there and welcome back to Generation Skywalker for another instalment of Those Old Fossils, where we talk vintage Star Wars toys and collectibles. And in our 37th edition, following on from last month's A Man Man discussion, we're sticking around at Jabba's palace and taking a look at Jabba the Hutt himself, as well as his right-hand Twi'lek, Bib Fortuna. I'm Dan, and joining me this episode we have Martin Woodgate.
Hello mate, how you doing?
I'm alright mate, you?
Yeah, good, thank you very much.
Enjoying the heat?
No, full, properly melting. I've had enough.
And it's Palitoy Pete. How you doing, Pete?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How you doing?
I think you're enjoying it a bit more than Martin.
I do, yeah. I don't mind it. A bit sweaty for work and sort of getting stuff done, but yeah, I quite like the just having all the doors open in the house. It's nice.
Jez is still away with work for the next few months, but he will drop in a couple of times through this show this evening.
Hello, you Wonga. How's it going, fellas? I hope you're all well. I'm calling from my dusty Tatooine place in my own right. Looking forward to seeing you all in October, hopefully. And yeah, I should be back by Echo. So thanks ever so much for allowing me to still remain part of the podcast and send in these little remote recordings. Kind of feels like I'm still a part of it.
As always, later in the show, we have Ron Salvatore back from the SWCA to talk Jabba, and Mark Andrews from Variant Villains is talking Bib, as well as Frank Muse's Baggy Guide, which has found a new home on the Variant Villains website. Now, fellas, it's a pretty quiet period of the year when it comes to Star Wars collecting, so not a huge amount to talk about, but I did want to give a quick shout out to a couple of upcoming events.
Yeah, so we've got Echo, which I know everyone looks forward to getting the date announced for that, and they announced it a month ago. So now we've got 10th of October for Echo in Redditch, the twice yearly homage to all things Star Wars up in the Midlands. So yeah, I think we're all in for that. And then 1 week later, if you haven't got your fill that weekend, you can head down south to Winchester in Hampshire for Meet the Maker.
Thank the Maker!
Which is Dave Tree's event, which is doing 10th anniversary of Rogue One.
That's right. And after last year's and more events celebrating all things Andor in June and December's 10th anniversary celebration of The Force Awakens, this October's Thank the Maker being held at the prestigious Swithins Schools at Harvey Hall, which is a 600-seat theatre and performing arts centre, for a deep dive into the creative journey behind Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Several guests have been announced so far over on the Thank the Maker Facebook page, so head over there for all the announcements. Personally, of all the Disney projects, the behind-the-scenes story on this one intrigues me the most, and I hope we get some more insight on how the film evolved from what was originally envisioned as a gritty war movie into the final movie we forgot, because really not a lot is really known about what was cut out of the film. We saw some glimpses of it in trailers and things like that, but be interesting to see how that movie changed and what went on behind the scenes. So yeah, really looking forward to this.
So yeah, he's He's drip feeding a little bit of information on that one. Keep an eye on the Facebook page as more comes through. But yeah, I think that will be pretty probably of him. And he's got a nice big venue as well.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. He did try to kid me it was Winchester Cathedral for a little while, but yeah. Not quite that nice, but yeah, still a nice looking event. And yeah, surprised he's managed to make his way out of Fordingbridge.
Indeed.
So yeah, we'll try and get him on in the next couple of months and he can tell us hopefully a bit more about it.
Bib Fortuna, majordomo to Jabba the Hutt.
Baby, let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about
they wanna wonder.
Let's talk about
Cowardly majordomo.
Let's talk about
Bib Fortuna.
Let's talk about
No chop.
Let's talk about
Bib Fortuna is one of the most recognisable supporting characters in Star Wars. A male Twi'lek from the planet Ryloth, Fortuna served as a majordomo, advisor and gatekeeper to the notorious crime lord Jabba the Hutt. With his pale skin, sharp teeth and distinctive head tails known as Leku, he became a really memorable presence despite having relatively little screen time. Not much is known about Fortuna's early life. He appears to have risen through the galaxy's criminal underworld before entering the service of Jabba. By the time of the Phantom Menace, he had already become one of the Hutt's most trusted advisors, a position he would hold for decades. Chronologically, Bib first appears in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, accompanying Jabba during the Boonta Eve pod race on Tatooine. Interestingly, although he would have been active throughout the Clone Wars era, he is largely absent from the Clone Wars animated series. He later appears in Star Wars The Bad Batch, continuing his role as one of Jabba's trusted lieutenants. Most fans know Bib Fortuna from The Return of a Jedi. As Jabba's chief majordomo, he controls access to the Hutt's throne room and famously falls victim to Luke Skywalker's Jedi mind trick when Luke demands an audience with Jabba. While he appears obedient and submissive, Fortuna is often portrayed as cunning, ambitious, and skilled at navigating the dangerous politics of the criminal underworld. Fortuna made a surprising return decades later in The Mandalorian. Having survived the events of Return of a Jedi, he had taken control of Jabba's former palace and criminal empire on Tatooine. However, his reign was short-lived. In the show's post-credit scene, Boba Fett storms the palace and kills Fortuna, claiming the throne for himself and setting the stage for the Book of Boba Fett. He was never a major villain. Bib Fortuna's distinctive appearance, mysterious background, and decades of service to one of the galaxy's most feared crime lords have made him one of Star Wars' most memorable supporting characters. You wanna wanga?
Boba! Meeting hacking puta! Open our vidu! Wakana Malian teach me!
So Bib Fortuna then, fellas. What do we think of this figure?
I didn't have Bib as a kid. I don't think I did. Well, maybe I did. I don't know. It was, if I did, lost him when I sold half the collection or whatever as a kid. So I've got no recollection of having him as a child. But I do have him now. Real recent purchase, actually. I only got him in May when I managed to get myself a 2-pack with Bib Fortuna and General Madine. So yeah, that's the only thing I've got. I like it. I like the figure. I think it's a great figure, all things considered. When you think about the amount of effort which has gone into it and what it comes with and everything like that, you see them all over the place. You see them in beta boxes and everything. But actually, as a full-on ensemble, I think it's a pretty good figure.
Yeah, I had him growing up. There was something really, really intriguing about this fella. It was certainly one that I wanted to get hold of, and I had quite an attachment to him when I was a kid. So yeah, it's a really good one. I liked him.
He's a scary looking chap, isn't he? I remember watching the film for the first time, and he's almost, you see when Return of the Jedi starts, you see Darth Vader, you see him Stormtroopers, you see C-3PO and R2, and then you get this guy thrown at you, and he's pretty killing. He's almost like he's like a vampire. He's so pasty and red-eyed and sharp teeth. He's a bit scary for youngins, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But there's one thing, and I can't remember exactly what happened here. I may be completely wrong. You know how you mix things up a little bit from, when loads and loads of years have passed. But I do seem to remember that they showed probably or possibly on breakfast TV sort of a preview, a chunk of the film. I remember it was being built up. And I was there ready, stupid o'clock one morning because they were going to do this reveal of the film, and he was certainly a character in that. It was very interesting to see from all that we've been used to before.
Empire Strikes Back hasn't really got too many aliens in it. You've got you've got Ugnaughts and Yoda and Bosk.
Yeah, the bounty hunters, yeah.
And that's about it. And then you get this guy, you get Gamorrean guards and this guy thrown at you in about 2 minutes after the film started.
Exactly. Yeah, it's brilliant.
What do you reckon to it, Pete?
Yeah, I don't recall having him as a kid, but I must have. I think he's one of those ones that actually everyone had, isn't he? Right? He's kind of he was there for the whole run and in plentiful supply. Yeah, I like him. I will go on to it, but I didn't have the Jabba the Hutt playset, so I didn't know. So maybe I didn't have him. So they kind of go together. And if you didn't have the Jabba the Hutt playset, what did you do with Bib Fortuna? He's kind of he's a bit anchorless, right?
Have you got a 65 back Palitoy now?
I haven't, no.
Oh man, it's an easy one. You should have one of them.
It's on the list. I've got a really nice Kenner 77 back, which randomly enough is the first ever carded figure I bought way back in the 90s. I've still got the same one. So yeah, I bought it off a mate of mine for £5.
I remember when I must have been about, I don't know, probably about 11 or 12, so like early 90s, and I was in Calamity Comics in Harrow, and they had some vintage Star Wars figures hanging up. I used to go in all the time, but all of a sudden these vintage figures appeared. I mean, there was only 2 or 3, and it was all like Rees and Nikto and Bib Fortuna, but I was like, wow, I haven't seen these for years, and that was, one of the first, times I'd seen vintage back out in the...
Yeah, it's that last bit of retail. Forbidden Planet had vintage Star Wars figures when I first started going in there in the sort of early 90s and late 80s. So yeah, I guess it was just the last of that leftover stock where it was just been still cleared through retail.
Have you got a carded one of these, mine?
Yeah, 65 back Palitoy. What are you playing? You're not going on those, mate.
I know, it's on the list. There's too many things on. It's just a long list, right? I'll get there. But no, he does seem to come up. So I've got a placeholder.
Yeah, what do we all think of the card back on this one? I think it's a pretty good one.
I think it is. Yeah, it looks quite scary. He's got very sort of starey eyes, isn't he? I like the sort of silhouette. I guess it's the door opening in the background. It frames it nicely. And the yellow, I've got a yellow bubble on this one. But when you see it on a tri-logo or a non-yellowed bubble, it really pings that yellow. It looks good against the blue.
Where you mine?
Yeah, decent picture, decent looking card back. I've noticed, doing a bit of review into some prices, which we'll touch on later, but I was noticing the Kenner ones do seem to struggle more with yellow bubbles, whereas the Palitoy ones do seem to be a lot clearer.
Another reason for Pete to go and get one.
Exactly.
It does with the Return of the Jedi stuff. It does suffer though with another stick. He's got a staff. That's one of the things I'm not a big fan about with some of the Jedi figures. Everyone seemed to have sticks instead of blasters. I don't know. It was the sign of the times in the mid '80s, and parents didn't want their kids to have guns, and I don't know. But yeah, a lot of them seem to have sticks and staffs and pointy things.
The other thing that occurred to me, these must have been an absolute nightmare to put together in the factory. Because you got the Leku sort of coming down, and they wrap completely around. So not only have they got to contend with putting the cape on, you got 2 arms that got to go through as well, right down the sleeves, and then you got 2 Leku that sort of wrap round, and this one goes over his chest and under his arm, the other one goes round the back and under his arm. It must have been a right faff doing those.
Yeah, I wonder if they put the head on after they kind of dressed him. Because I imagine it's just on a peg, isn't it? I've never pulled the head off a Bib Fortuna before, but generally, for the Jedi figures, I think it's a spike that sticks up and you can just pull the heads off.
Yeah, maybe. It'd still be a faff, though, without
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
How are you, Mark?
Yeah, hello, Dan. How you doing, mate?
It's been a little while since we recorded. When was the last time we recorded together? Was it the Luke Jedi episode? Were you on that? I think maybe it was.
Yeah, that's the one. Now, Bib Fortuna, I can put my hand up for this one here. This is a figure that I do actually have a modest focus with. I've got all the production figures, of course. He's a common figure. He's not one of these ones that you're you're sort of thrashing around lots of money to complete a run on. But I do actually have a first shot Bib Fortuna as well, which is not really I don't really go for pre-production pieces in my collection, but this one came up. It was a friend who was selling it, and we worked out a deal, and I was like, you know what? I've got myself a first shot Bib. So I feel confident enough to take the reins for the interview today for Bib.
There was a lot more to this figure than I originally thought. I thought, let's go with let's try and the summer months, let's try and take it a little bit easier and, get some of the, the figures that were later in the line that might not mean as much too, but it definitely... I'm slowly learning there's a bit more to Bib Fortuna than I originally thought.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic figure. But he's probably a bit like Forlorn. When you see him when he's all decked out and he looks quite snazzy. Bib's very much like that. He's got he's iconic. There's no other figures that are like him. The problem is though, is you strip off his cloak and you take away his belts and you lose his stuff, and he just looks like just a bollard. So, he's one of these ones that is he's either very cool or he struggles to have any sort of, zazz about him at all. He's all party up top and he's very business below once you take his kit off.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think that it's kind of like where they kind of made the chunkier figures to kind of represent their capes. They had these big chunky legs. I think it must have started with a Jedi line. I can't think of any from the earlier lines where they've done that. He's like Anakin Skywalker, the Emperor's the same, aren't they? It's very
they're a bit
chunky legged figures, lots of plastic.
Yeah, they're a bit more spindly before the Jedi line. You're right. There's a lot more heft to them. I love the Jedi figures. This is probably heresy to say this, but the Jedi figures I just think are the most interesting in terms of the variety and the skull. I just love them. I just love all those ones. So yeah, that's kind of like my closest to my heart. And yeah, Bib's definitely up there. I've got a bit of a squid head thing as well, but yeah, we're talking Bib today. We'll cut back to squid.
We'll get to squid one day, yeah. So start talking to me about the Asian production then and the variations that went on there.
Okay, well, there's a bit going on with this one. It's the usual players. We've got Smile, which did 2 different families for Bib Fortuna. We've got Kada, who did their own set of tooling for it. That went to Liddy Leddy slightly later on. And then we've also got Taiwan. So you don't have Unitoy for this particular figure, but you got the other ones running, and that's certainly enough. He's well covered. I mean, this is a Return of the Jedi figure as we've spoke about. So you're talking about all the late era kind of factories. So Macau, you're talking about Meccano licensing. You're talking about Liddy Leddy. You don't find POC or PBP Bib Fortunas. I mean, you can get them carded, but they're not made in those Spanish factories. They're all sort of later ones that were done in Asia.
So when was kind of the cutoff then in terms of what figures were produced by PVP? Is it the Jedi line? Did they stop from there, or was there like a handful of the last Empire figures that weren't produced in Spain?
Yeah, it's mostly that ESB era. It's not to say there's definitely legacy figures from the Star Wars line that made it the popular characters that made their way across as well. Yeah, that's a very simple way to denote it, because there's some crossover. I mean, Zokas, for example, Empire Strikes Back figure, and yet that was done also at Liddy Leddy.
Right.
So yeah, but generally speaking, your Spanish production is with the Empire Strikes Back figures, even though it wasn't done in parallel with them. It was done once they'd finished. So, once they'd finished that batch of production, the tooling then went to Spain, and that's where they produced their PBP figures and had the parts to produce the POC figures. I mean, we're going a bit off topic as far as our Bib Fortuna goes, but it just gives us a bit of some sense in the timeline.
Yes.
This one being a Jedi figure. So he missed that Spanish production run. And so he had his Kada run, and then he went to Mexico for Liddy Leddy.
There's plenty going on with this Leddy figure, isn't there? It's the toxic limbs, I think, of a Bib Fortuna.
You're not wrong. Yeah, this is probably the most the most exciting in terms of when people talk about variants. They're all variants to me, right? It doesn't matter if they're from Asia or whatever. But when people talk about variants, we all know what they're talking about with Bib Fortuna. Of course, it's the burgundy cape Bib Fortuna. Have you seen one of these before?
Not in person. I've seen images of them.
The figure itself, it's a standard Liddy Leddy figure, standard Liddy Leddy staff and belt. But the very first version that they had, we can only presume that they must have used some sort of picture that was supplied by Kenner as some sort of master to work to. And the original pre-production versions of Bib Fortuna had like black capes and things like this.
Yeah.
In Mexico, there's burgundy sort of felt, I want to say, fabric. They must have just had a lot of this, because I've seen the same fabric used for other toy lines in Mexico. You can get you can get Barbies with the same material. Just they must have had just a certain amount of it, and they decided, hey, this is what we're going to use for Bib Fortuna, and so you get this really sort of luxurious looking cloak on your Bib Fortuna figure, which he looks a bit of a Hugh Hefner type character.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like a bit of a smoking jacket. Like he's going to go and have a go on Jabba's pipe and chill out for a couple of hours.
You know what they need? They needed to put some patches on his elbows. That would have been really smart. Yeah, okay, I like it. So anyway, that's your headline variant when it comes to this figure.
On that burgundy cape, though, just going back to that. So you obviously mentioned that the pre-production figure, the red version. So you think that they copied that then, because there were later LED versions that weren't red. So do you think there was a correction there where they went, oh, hold on, that was not meant to be red, it's meant to be grey or brown or whatever colour it's meant to be? Maybe that's why they had so much spare fabric to put on Barbie, because they bought all the red stuff in and they got told they could use the rest of it.
Kenner must have pulled the reins in on them. Yeah, no, I mean that's just it's a working theory. It's whatever they had there they used, and that was what they used. And it has like this sort of rubbery white interior to it as well. It's a weird sort of fabric. There's plenty of fakes out there as well. They've been faking this figure since forever. Like this is one of the most iconic variants in your Star Wars line. I mean, I can't underline that enough. Like when you see all your figures together and you're looking at your collection of figures, this guy he really jumps out. So it is one of these ones that people for decades now have been trying to skirt around the edges of, can I get away with this sort of fabric or that, or can I get a regular cape and dye it? Of course they can't. It looks stupid, but that's what people do. But, the fakes have got quite good, probably over the last 10 years, I want to say. I've had a few of these burgundy bibs now, and I even had a CAS graded burgundy Bib Fortuna that I looked at it, and within 5 seconds, I knew that it was a fake. Like you could the stitching. I mean, you look at these things closely enough and you can just tell. I mean, the guy to talk to about this, I should give him a plug, is Horacio Naves. He's a Mexican collector. He's been at it for decades now. Top man. He actually issues a certificate once he's inspected the figure in hand and takes all detailed photos up close. And I would take his word on a figure over any grading company in a heartbeat.
As much as I'd like to own one, I'd be absolutely terrified that they were fake, because they are so prevalent, like you say. And you'd have to get advice, wouldn't you, in terms of just to try and verify that it was legit.
It's fraught with danger. The whole thing. I've been like, apart from that CAS one I mentioned about, and I mean, I didn't pay full whack for it by any stretch, and it all kind of worked out. But anyway, point is that you can easily get wrapped up in these things and get taken for a ride. So you got to be careful. The negative stuff aside, it's a beautiful looking figure. He just really jumps out, and to me, he is like top shelf variant. Not just because he's expensive or rare. He just looks fantastic. He just looks awesome. I love it. Aside from your burgundy bib, they as you suggested earlier, they did get some sort of directive to change the color of the cloak. So now instead of your burgundy, it went to a brown or a green color. There's a bit of debate about this because, as you know, with these Jedi fabrics, they did, under certain conditions, they did change. Like, and as the material ages and degrades and becomes more brittle, some of the green loses its luster. So you can get brown ones, but I mean, were they ever brown? Were they originally green? I don't know. I suspect that there's probably some tiny variations in there. If you were to have a brown example and a green example and your burgundy, you've got you've got the full spectrum covered no matter what. That's liddy. I'll just put a bow on that one there because we've sort of covered enough detail there. Yeah. The other sort of interesting one that we've skipped over earlier was now, this isn't officially recognized within the hobby, but I think it's safe to say that there is a Meccano Bib Fortuna. It's the one they call the Scar Bib. And occasionally these things pop up, and they always just seem to turn up in France. And it's basically a no coup, but instead of it being smoothed over, it's more of a like a scarred version, I guess, but slightly different to the way that PBP did it. Okay. So yeah, it's probably worth giving him a mention as well. Again, it's not something that you won't see people doing like, here's my Meccano run, and they'll include their Scar Bib Fortuna. But I do think he does have a place in that lineup. Me personally, my thoughts. Yeah,
very good. I mean, is there any other differences between that and the figure itself? Is it just the scar? There's no mold differences or anything like that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And this is part of the problem because it is just a regular common as Mark Smile figure. Yeah, there is, we've kind of raised our eyebrows at a few of them, but for the most part, I think the hobby so far has been safe. But it is something I'm really closely watching that one there, because I fear that if somebody gets a bit creative, again, same as our burgundy bib, with the kind of money that we're talking about, you're going to get see these things drip fed in. If too many of them turn up, then, little red flags are popping up above my head.
I will go and check my bib though when we finish this.
Yeah. In terms of the Asian Bib Fortunas, there's not really that much between them. You're talking about slight colors in.
Yeah.
Some of them got like coral painted lips and eyes, and others have got like pinkish kind of lips and eyes. There's not really much in it, to be honest. The only sort of fun thing to drop in there is the Taiwan figure. It has all the staves are very similar as well. They it's only things like the gate is in a different place, or an EPM's in a different position, or the color's slightly different. There's not too much between them. However, Taiwan actually has one staff that has a metallic fleck through it. It's really hard to see. If you're just going through a bunch of Bib Fortuna staffs, you won't notice it. You put it under a bright light and it just sparkles. It's wonderful. It's a hard accessory to find. I think only one's ever gone for sale publicly. There's probably a handful that have gone under the radar. Yeah, that's a fun little accessory to include as well. On the Variant Villain page, we haven't actually done a guide for this figure yet, which I intend to remedy soon, because I've got.
I was going to say, sounds like you're the man for the job.
Yeah, I've got no excuses, mate. it's just a matter of time. We've just wrapped up the baggy guide today. In fact, we're recording 30th of June, and the baggy guide that has been 4 years in the making has finally gone live. So Frank, Muse, and myself have put this guide together. It's so all encompassing. I can't tell you. I'll just put a little plug out there now. Go check out the Bib Fortuna page, everybody. But that's going to be. That one there's a work in progress. The baggy guide, that rocks. Check that out.
Yeah, I did have a little look at that earlier on, and it's great work there. So from Frank's perspective, is that going to supersede the work that he's done on the SWF UK, then the old baggy guides on there? Has he pulled a lot of that across?
A lot of the content is the same. He has been updating the Variant Villain version of it, because I've got him on Frank's not a techie kind of guy, and he'll admit that freely himself. But we've had a few phone calls and I've walked him through it. So he's now updating it himself. So I obviously love the forums. A lot of what we learnt came from the forums, and there's definitely, they had their time. But I mean, the fact is the technology just hasn't moved and hasn't kept up with modern devices. So, quite often it just is got ads popping up everywhere, or it's just, it doesn't sort of rearrange itself to suit a wide landscape on a tablet or a phone portrait type shape. But they just don't work on modern devices. So, who knows? Maybe Variant Villain will be that way in the future as well. But for now, this is it's just going to roll with whatever is, the best tech for the time. And this is it. So it makes total sense to do it. We've got all the figures there now. We've got our knowledge guides, accessories, reproduction, card back guides, Wolf started bootlegs, and now baggies. It's huge. Absolutely.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I know. There's definitely a lifetime worth of work to do on the rest of the site. But, in terms of categories, I think that's got to be it now. I can't see anything else that I want to fit in here. I just haven't got enough. I need two lifetimes to fit all this in, mate.
I did, like I said, I had a quick look for it earlier, but yeah, sit down and when I'm doing my research on the next figure, and I'll make sure I dip in there and take a look at that baggy guide. But we're not done with baggies, are we? Are we going to talk about this 8-pack?
This is another one which is a bit like our Taiwan stuff. It's a bit, there's a bit of grey area around this, but the Bib Fortuna, the Liddy Leddy one, we'll circle back to him just briefly. This is a figure that strangely turns up in the United Kingdom. Now, why does a Mexican-made Bib Fortuna turn up in baggies or loose in the United Kingdom, other side of the world? Makes no sense. The theory, or sort of the working theory, is that Palitoy just seemed to be a magpie for any kind of overstock lots from the Spanish factories, from the Mexican factories, the Macau factories, from France, and they just seemed to gravitate towards here, and they were just sold off in various multi-packs and all these different sort of things. And one of them being the Woolies 8-pack, which is this random ensemble of some Palitoy baggies and some Kenner baggies, and they just sort of lumped them all together in an 8-pack and sold it off. So we can't explain why the Liddy Leddy Bib Fortuna, this is the green cape, I hasten to add. it turns up in the UK, but that's the working theory that there was a lot purchased from Mexico, probably when that factory closed down, imported over to the United Kingdom, packaged at packaged by Woolworths, I think is the theory.
Send it into the world
and sold off. Well, sold off here, which is why occasionally they do turn up here. So it's a fun little one. Maybe you've got one in your collection, you don't know about it. Take a look.
Yeah. I mean, is there evidence of them being in the baggies, or is it just a theory at the minute? Someone got a photograph of one in a Woolworths bag with 7 other figures, and it's the lady one in the bag, or is this just a theory at the moment?
This is one of these ones that people will correct me because I'm sure I'll get this wrong.
Right.
I don't think it's turned up in an actual 8-pack.
Right.
It's turned up loose.
Okay.
Yeah. So loose. Sorry, when I say loose, I mean loose in a baggie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they have turned up. There's been more than one. There's been I don't want to say quite a few because that oversells it. But there has been enough to turn up here in this country of the same batch of Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
To make us think that, how could this have happened? And that's when you start piecing things together. But it's total speculation. I mean, there is no, to my mind, there's no hard evidence. But it's a good theory, and given the movement of figures across the world to the United Kingdom and what was sold off here, it works in with the overall movement and the patterns that were happening at the time.
That's what we call, my friend, another Palitoy puzzler.
You've nailed it. It's a great figure. I encourage people to look into it. He's one of these cheap and cheerful Jedi figures. I praise them constantly because you don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to go and get your fancy variants from foreign countries. You can just have a great Bib Fortuna run. Pick up all the little nuances and all the isms for the rest of them, and do it very cheaply and get a nice little collection of figures going. Go for it.
Wonderful. Well, thanks very much for joining us again, Mark. And hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Okay, adios.
Tejoda! They wanna wanga.
Oh my. Do you wanna let go?
Bato!
We bring a message to your master, Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba wanga.
We've had that was obviously Mark telling us all about the new baggy guide. Have you had a chance to go and take a look at that yet?
I haven't yet. I will do. I'm not. Yeah, baggies are. They don't make me nervous, but I just don't really. Yeah, there's a couple I'd like to pick up. I know we saw Baggy Gate, however many years ago that was. Yeah, I just think there's so many other things to go for. Baggies don't really do it for me.
I'm giving you the baggy section next month. I don't think it's just the baggies though. It's all the multi packs and stuff and maimers, and it's just great for seeing some of that stuff. Yeah, it looks really smart, and if you want to go and research any of that stuff, it's going to be a great resource, I think.
Absolutely, incredible piece of work as well. Bring all of that together under one banner. No,
yeah.
I must do. It may light a fire.
I doubt it. What is it? Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Give you baggies every month.
Mine does such a good job with them, though. I wouldn't want to take it away.
Yeah, no, I don't want to hog. Pete. You deserve a go, mate.
Well, have you had a chance to look at the guide yet, Martin?
Yes, I have. I mean, I love their site. It was, to be honest, it's only since I've been doing this that I've really sort of had a proper look through their site. But it is excellent. Baggy Guide's great, but everything on that site is great. It's just expanded to cover so many areas of the hobby now. It really is good.
Excellent. Right then, Pete, do you want to take us through Bib Fortuna then?
But yeah, so initial wave, he was released in 1983 on the first wave of the Return of the Jedi cards, which he had 16. Looking at the loose market value, he's pretty easy to get hold of. I think any show you go to, you're going to find a fairly decent condition. Bib Fortuna, sort of around about £15 mark for ungraded. Probably a little more if it's got going on condition and completeness. If you want to get into your graded figures, I think an 85 grade, you're averaging sort of just past the £100 mark, 110, 120 odd. And then there has been an example of a 90 grade. You found this Dan, which went for £253 in January, which doesn't seem that expensive. I think anything with a 90, just even if it's just the fact it's a 90 grade, it seems to demand a premium. So I think that's not a bad buy, right? But I know you get a lot of people chasing 90 grade sets. So
I wonder what constitutes a 90 grade Bib Fortuna, because he's a pretty solid block of colour, isn't he? It must. I don't know. I've never seen really, you get all the accessories taken off of them, but I don't think I've ever seen a beta Bib Fortuna.
No, I guess you get the one they sort of lose the cape. I guess there's so many card dudes, and there's so there's a lot of this figure out there. You know what I mean? Using how many card dude examples have survived, so there's going to be a lot in good condition that would have been bought late in the run. And what makes the difference between an 85 and a 90? I don't know if there's any chips, any usual chips on the face or the noses. I know a lot of figures suffer from that, but
that's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, most of it's covered by the cape.
Yeah.
So frankly, it could have been chewed by a dog. As long as the cape's there, you wouldn't notice. Do you know what I mean? Once you wrap it up, it could still be a 90. You don't know what's
I don't know. Could have no legs.
Yeah, well, see his feet poke down the bottom, wouldn't you? But yeah, no.
Yeah. Going a bit more exciting, you got the Lily Ledy piece, obviously the red burgundy cape coming out of Mexico, and the prices get pretty tasty on these. One sold April 24 through Vectis for £1,600 plus fees. Wow. Got another one in Vectis went a little bit earlier in October 22, which sold for £1,200. So that first one was graded an 80, which went for £1,600. This one, £1,200 October 22, was graded as 60. A little bit of a lesser condition. Going over to the States, I found one in July 23 that sold for $2,200, which is AFA graded. It doesn't say that. I've got a picture of the CIB certificate, but it's so small on my notes I can't read the grade. But I'm guessing at that price probably be around an 80 that time of sort of going on what else I've found. But just looking through Facebook, doing a bit of a history, I sort of went through Besbin Prime, which is quite good on these. But these are all ungraded prices over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. You've got 3,500, 2,300, and then a $1,689 So they're around about sort of two grand. If you want one, if you're after one, you probably need £2,000 in the war chest to go and find one. And then ideally, you probably want to get one graded, don't you? Just to make sure that it's legit.
I don't know, but what Mark said, even like he bought one graded, wasn't he? And he was told in 5 minutes he could tell it weren't right.
Well, you just need to know. You just need someone who's got that.
You need Ozio. He sounds like the man.
Yeah, quite a few on Besbin. I think a couple of those were coming through him. But I think it's the amount of things I've read that said this is the most faked item in the hobby. Yeah, I mean, probably after VCJ, but it's the amount of people, because you got the K there, you just got it's obviously a different material. If you know what you're looking at, you'll know a fake. People would have had a go at it, I imagine. But very sought after as well, because they look amazing. They really do look amazing. I think Mark says it when you're looking at variants, you could have sort of 100 variants, and non-collector or to the sort of naked eye, you wouldn't necessarily pick up on them. But this is sort of top 5, top 10 variant in the hobby, isn't it?
I just don't think I could bring myself to spend £2,000 on a Bib Fortuna. I don't think I could bring myself to spend £253 on a graded one, to be honest with you. There you go. Any other thoughts on that one, Martin?
No, they're gorgeous, aren't they? But exactly what you said. I couldn't justify that. But a great variant. They really look good.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk card backs then?
Yeah, so available on a lot of Kenner card backs. So we've got 65A, 65B, 65C, 77A, 79A, and 79B. So pretty much consistent all the way through the line from when they would have appeared. Same with the Palitoy, 65A, 65B, 65C, and available on the Tri logo. So that's the 70B. Appeared in the Kenner Canada cards as well on the 65A and the 77A. Also, Carno 65 as well, which is a lovely looking card back. And he also came out on Kenner cards with Clipper and Sakuda stickers as well as that Lily Ledy 30 back Regresso card back. So that came in both the negative and positive flavours.
Got it all going on there then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice little focus there for someone who wants to go after all the Bib Fortunas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what sort of prices are we talking, Martin?
For Kenner Mocks to start with, pretty consistently around the £70 mark, I would say, for most Kenner Mocks. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of them do seem to have yellow bubbles. There was a nice one that sold on eBay in May. It did have a yellow bubble, but it was really, really straight in every other respect. And that went for $150, which is about £110. In addition to that, there was the Kenner 2 packs, the one with the plain back, get a lot of figure variation, the overstocks, I guess you'd probably call them. So there was one of those that was sold on eBay in May alongside a hand trench coat, which went for $230, which is around about £170. Palitoy card backs, not as many of these. Struggled to find them. Most of them are Kenner, but there were a couple. So there's one in May. Interestingly enough, though, this sold in the US, so it actually went for $72, which is about £55. So I think someone got a good price there. Similarly, one sold on Vectis in January, and that went for £125. The tri-logo ones seem to go, on average, just a smidge more. One sold in April 24, so we had to go back a bit to actually find the last tri-logo one that sold. April 24, that one was £100 at Vectis, and then there was one in October 23, also at Vectis for $135.
Okay, sounds reasonable. What about Leddies? Have you managed to find anything out on the prices for those? Because I did take a look and I couldn't find any that had been sold.
I found one.
Right.
Not that long ago. Hakes. It's part of the Jeff Jacob collection. So that sold in January 25. So that's a carded Lily Leddy. Went for $5,500, which is about $4,100.
Is that with a red cape?
It's brown cape. Condition wise, looks okay. So it's the 30 back as we'd expect. Yeah, it's graded. So card 75, bubble 70, figure 80. So I guess the reason it probably didn't take quite as well is that it wasn't the red cape.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, those carded red capes, people are hoarding them. It doesn't feel like there's too many been coming up recently. I couldn't find anything on them in terms of even trying to price them, but knowing what those Leddies go for and what that, you got to be looking 10 grand for one of them, haven't you? Surely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Got to be at least.
Such an iconic piece. So.
Yeah.
It's interesting actually. The estimate was 5 to 10 grand.
Okay.
It went for 5,465.
People like their Lily Leddy.
Yes, they do look amazing.
I've got a couple of others though. I've got the Sakuda and Meccano, so I got those as well.
And what sort of prices were they going for?
Okay, so we got Meccano Bib Fortuna sold at Vectis in October 24. So it was the Meccano 65 back. Now that had a dented bubble. It was also lifting as well. That went for £625.
Wow.
And there's also a Sakuda, and that was April 26. That was a Kenner 65 back with a Sakuda sticker on the lower part of the reverse of the card. That went for $275, which is about £205.
Oh wow, that seems a lot. You think those Tascuda stickers aren't? I've never found them that hard to get hold of. They've normally just fallen in my lap when I've had them before, and I've got them for next to me. But I think I've had a Bib Fortuna one at some point. I'm sure I did, and then I traded. But yeah, they must have gone up a bit recently.
It's not so much that. I think it was condition on this one. Got it
right.
Decent price. It really was straight. It did look nice. Yellow bubble. There'd a lot of these Kenner ones have, but it was really clean.
Nice. Very good. Thanks for that, Martin. Spot on as always. Pete and prototypes. Minefield this one. Good luck.
It is. There is a lot out there, so I'll highlight a few bits, list some others. I'm sure there is tons more out there that I've missed as well, but there are a few peaches. We start off Vectis, going back to April 2019. I'm just going to read the description rather than rehash it. Kenner Palitoy Star Wars Return of the Jedi Bib Fortuna prototype resin master tooling aid vintage figure. Excellent condition, sent by Kenner to Mr. Roger Morrison, Palitoy General Mills European tooling manager in the early 1980s. Prototype resin figure used in the manufacture of production Star Wars figure. The master model was used in the production of beryllium copper castings, which were then used in the manufacture of production injection molds. Sourced directly from Mr. Morrison, authenticated and cased by UKG. NB production figure included for comparison. So I remember when these came up, there was 3 of them. There was an Emperor's Royal Guard, a Low Grey, and a Bib Fortuna. So really nicely cased. Well worth going back into the Vectis history to have a look. So going on prices, I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but the Low Grey came in at the lowest, was sold for 10 grand. That was a hammer price, so you can have fees on top of that. Emperor's Royal Guard came in at £24,000, and Bib Fortuna came in at £30,000. So yeah, pretty incredible. Do you remember these when they went through?
I do, yeah. So what were they getting tooling masters? So this is what they sent across to Palitoy to be able to make their versions of it.
It would have been, yeah. So it's got so it was sent to this guy, Mr. Roger Morrison at Palitoy Europe, Palitoy General Mills Europe. And he's obviously just sat on them thinking, well, they'll come in handy one day. Got them cased up. I don't think they were graded. Doesn't look like they were graded. I think they were just cased and authenticated. And he put them all through Vectis. And it was I think I've seen them. I remember seeing them. Maybe they had them at Sandown. I remember them being quite a story at the time that these were going through. But yeah, I'm not sure why there's such a big difference in the pricing. 10, 24 and 30 is a big old difference, right?
It's desirability of the figure. I'd have thought that the Emperor's Royal Guard would have gone for most, but
maybe,
clearly,
yeah.
But there you go. Very good.
So yeah, they're quite phenomenal, and yeah, all sold through Vectis in 2019. So what else we got? We got something that's quite debated quite a lot online to what it is. So it's a Bib Fortuna with the white cape on a Walrus Man card, which looks just phenomenal. I think whether it's the sort of dark card back, it's on a 3/4 Empire Strikes Back Walrus Man card. So quite a dark card back image, and you've got this bright cloaked Bib Fortuna sitting there. It looks absolutely stunning. I think the belief is that these were salesman samples, also used as sort of bubble tests. The bubbles aren't traditional production bubbles. They're hand cut and stuck on. So it would have been a test as well. So whether it was dual purpose, whether they were used for the sales guys to go out and just kind of get the new figures shown, and they were sort of testing them as well. It looks fantastic with that white cloth cape. But one of these sold through Hakes, I believe this is, in November 24, sold for $28,500. Pretty stunning piece. So you got them. Moving on, you got it's on the archive, and there's sort of debate whether it is legit or not. There's the red cape Bib Fortuna, which isn't the Ledi, it's the one that's on the back of the Return of the Jedi card. That's on the archive, but I think there's a little bit of debate whether how legit that is. Where that is now, who knows? But what a historic piece. Everyone saw it on the back of the card, and then got the different coloured one on the front. Go on to card backs. There's unproduced Power of the Force card, which sold through Hakes back in February 21 for $17,000, graded 85. And the listing states that it came from Mr. Gus Lopez's collection at the time. Same on the card backs. There is the Return of the Jedi 65 back proof card on the archive. Also on the archive, you have Bib Fortuna hard copy, painted hard copy, which looks pretty fantastic. You got the unpainted Bib Fortuna head hard copy, and there's also the Tooling Master, so it's in the same green color as the one at Vectis. This came from a find in the US. I think it's Ron's right up on this, where there's a numerous Return of the Jedi Tooling Masters were found in perfect condition, because obviously it's the final figure before it's used to make the molds for the mass-produced figure. So it's interesting seeing these figures you just know and have seen time and time again, but seeing them in different colours, it gives kind of new aspect on the features and the detail in the sculpt. And yeah, worth checking out, sticking with the archive-related stuff on the Kivecast interview. Back in 2019, they interview Phidias Barrios. He's got a phenomenal pre-production collection on Bib Fortuna, and he's got the wax sculpt, the unpainted hard copy, painted hard copy, and the proto mold.
But there you go. Loads going on with him.
There's a lot. I'm sure that's just touching the surface. I think you can get in the weeds on that one.
Very good, Martin. Then, so you're gonna wrap up Bib Fortuna and all the other bits and pieces for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got some baggies. Unless you want to do this bit, Pete, more than well. No,
I'll listen in awe to you.
Oh, okay. Right. So 6 baggies that Bib came on. So it's the Euro A, ESB A, C, and H, and then there's the Return of the Jedi A, and also H as well, of which apparently there's just one known example. Multi-packs and mailers. He's in a few exclusive ones here. So firstly, Sears US exclusive 3-packs released in 1983. Had a Gamguard, Squid Head and Bib. Sears Canada exclusive 2-pack from 1983. So that was Rebel Commando and Bib. Montgomery Ward exclusive 3-pack, also 1983. So that was a Boba Fett, Squid Head and Bib Fortuna. And then there was also an 8-pack. That was carried by Montgomery Ward, JCPenney and Alden's as well. Released in 1983, Gamguard, Re-Spike Scout, Emperor's Royal Guard, Klaatu, Weequay Squidhead and Bib. In addition to that, there were a couple of bootlegs. So firstly, Mexico. So there were two versions of bootlegs out of Mexico. Both are made of plastic, but one is completely non-articulated and the other has articulation, but only in the arms. So the non-articulated version appears to be pretty poorly cast, whereas the semi-articulated version is somewhat better. Commonly, it's cast in blue, with the head and leku painted in either white, grey or silver, although there are some completely unpainted examples too. That said, they're Mexican bootlegs, so there's a distinct possibility that there are potentially some crazy combinations kicking around too.
The silver-headed one sounds a bit freaky.
It looks pretty cool, actually. I do like the look of it. In addition to that, there's a Brazilian one, which is the model Trem range. So those are cast in metal, as a rule, generally painted quite similar to the Kenner version. This is no exception. It comes with 4 points of articulation, so it's at the shoulders and the hips. The head and the leku were cast as part of the torso. The body and the legs and the arms were painted a dark bluey green, and there's a grey painted chest plate on that. The head and the leku were painted white. He also comes with an oversized black cloth cape as well.
So they were producing those the same time as Leddy were doing their versions as well then?
Yeah, I don't think there would have been a massive difference.
No. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Good old South America.
Yeah. Miscards. So it's only one miscard that I've come across on my travels, and that was actually a green saber Luke Jedi on a Kenner 65 back Bib Fortuna card. This looks pretty awesome. It comes complete. It's got the cape, the blaster, the saber. So I guess that they were all put inside the bubble, and then someone dropped the ball and whacked it on the wrong card.
Nice. Well, that's worth £1 or £2. You got all the Bib Fortuna and Luke Jedi collectors after that one.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a freaky combination, that.
Mm-hmm. Twin packs. Well, this is a nightmare, isn't it? 'Cause, I mean, you sent over a few to me, so I thought, thank you very much. That's very nice of you. I'll have a little look, see if I can find some more. I have found a few more. We're over 20 different examples now with Bib Fortuna and another character on there. So suffice to say, so we don't bore everyone completely to tears, that he's well represented in those twin packs.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if you were a Bib Fortuna focus collector? How cool would it be to get Bib Fortuna with each of these characters? Just to broaden your collection. Yeah.
You've had
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be happy if my focus figure was on so many. In fact, I've always been pretty pleased, to be honest, that my focus figure isn't on any of them. So it worked out quite nicely for me.
And then you've got the Colgate figure as well, was one that I saw.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing. So Bib also appears in a rare item that was produced solely for the Spanish market, and is something of an unusual crossover. So to coincide with Return of the Jedi, Colgate produced a box containing a tube of gel toothpaste and a Star Wars figure. Now, I don't know how many of these are still out there, and I'm sure it's not many. It might only be that one example that we've seen that contains Bib Fortuna, visible through a plastic window on the box. So the text on the front of the toothpaste box says that there are actually 70 different figures and to collect them all. And on the reverse, there's a picture of 16 different figures and the line Colgate helps you collect them. So I don't think he was probably specifically just going to be that sole figure that came with it. There were probably other examples, but you know what it's like with all this sort of ephemera, something that was a consumable, it's just been thrown away. So we've seen that one example with a Bib Fortuna, never seen any others.
Come on, let's talk about Jabba the Hutt. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about
Jabba the Hutt.
Let's talk about
the great Jabba the Hutt.
Let's talk about
slimy piece of worm-ridden filth.
Let's talk about
Jabba the Hutt Playset.
Let's talk about
Jabba the Hutt is one of the most iconic villains in Star Wars and the galaxy's most infamous crime lord. A member of the powerful Hutt species, Jabba ruled a vast criminal empire from his palace on Tatooine, controlling smuggling, bounty hunting, gambling, and countless illegal operations across the Outer Rim. Born on the Hutt homeworld of Nal Hutta, you'll have to forgive me for stumbling over the pronunciation of his influential clan. I'm going to give it a best guess and say Dizlilajik. It's going to be thereabouts. By the time of the prequel era, he had become one of the most powerful gangsters in the galaxy, commanding fear and respect from criminals, politicians, and bounty hunters alike. Despite his slug-like appearance, Jabba was intelligent, ruthless, and a master manipulator who maintained power through wealth, intimidation, and carefully cultivated alliances. Chronologically, Jabba first appears in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where he attends the Boonta Eve pod race on Tatooine. During the Clone Wars, he played a significant role in the conflict between the Republic and the Separatists. In the animated film Star Wars The Clone Wars and several episodes of the television series, Jabba becomes involved in negotiations over key hyperspace routes, demonstrating how influential criminal organizations could be during the war. Jabba is best known for his appearances in Return of the Jedi. The film showcases Jabba at the height of his power, surrounded by bounty hunters, criminals, and exotic creatures. His capture of Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, and Han Solo ultimately leads to his downfall. In one of the saga's most memorable moments, Leia uses the very chain that binds her to strangle Jabba to death aboard his sail barge above the Great Pit of Cocoon. Although Jabba dies in Return of the Jedi, his influence continues to shape events long afterwards. His former territory becomes the focus of power struggles seen in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and his son Rotter plays a significant role in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, as he attempts to become his own Hutt and free himself from the legacy of his father, proving that even after his death, Jabba's shadow still looms over the galaxy's criminal underworld. Combining immense power, cruelty, and unforgettable design, Jabba the Hutt remains one of Star Wars' most enduring and recognisable villains. And all power and credit to the incredible creatives who put this wonderful creature together in Return of the Jedi.
The task of building Jabba fell to Stuart Freeborn at the London studios. Freeborn, who also built Yoda, considers Jabba his greatest creation. Jabba was conceived as a giant slug. His tail would have to partly communicate his character and emotion. What may seem simple was actually a complex and complicated mechanical feat. The process for building Jabba included clay models, plastic castings, and intriguing interior frames. With the tail finished and ready to slither, Freeborn and his assistants tackled the head, putting in tiny air sacs to make the outer skin bulge and move when Jabba smiled.
So when you do smile, when you do that function, it really does swell out there.
It should be a fat tongue. Maybe we haven't got the fat.
No aspect of Jabba's anatomy escaped Freeborn's scrutiny.
Right, okay.
As any actor knows, detail builds character.
It should be fatter than that.
Saxophone-like paddles and valves were placed under Jabba's skin. Remotely controlled, they worked with the air sacs to bring Jabba's face alive. Jabba would be able to arch an eyebrow, wrinkle his forehead, express anger and suspicion. Freeborn wanted Jabba to act. It took 2 tons of clay and 600 pounds of latex to form Jabba's incredible Hulk. One of the largest problems was baking the clay mold for Jabba's skin. An entire room had to be transformed into a giant Jabba bakery. Next came Jabba's eyes, the mirror to his evil soul, and one of the keys to making his performance come alive. Lucas wanted Jabba to have eyes that could react to the light. The irises had to open and close. The pupils would have to almost instinctively react to what was happening around him. The demands Lucas placed on Jabba's creators pushed them to their limit. What producer Howard Kazanchian and the monster builders finally delivered to the set on the first day of shooting was a fully developed, 3-dimensional being. Once the finishing touches were added, Jabba took his place center stage with the other actors. Jabba was alive. not only because of the men who designed and built him, but now because of the men who operated him.
I think, Pete, you've already shown your hand and mentioned that you didn't have one of these growing up.
I didn't know, but they were everywhere. I remember, Martin, you may remember this as well. I remember them being piled high in Alders, Croydon, and I remember a couple of them being out. So I remember, and I'm sure I had mates who had it. So I was aware of it and probably did play with it. And yeah, I remember seeing them sort of being loose in toy shops as well. So yeah, but never had one.
Is it one that you had, Martin?
Yeah, I still got the same one, but I used to love this thing as a kid. Was always playing with it. Great set.
Yeah, same here. That was my Star Wars Christmas that year, and I didn't mention Bib Fortuna when I was a kid, but I got like literally that whole first Jedi wave, give or take, maybe 2 or 3 of that wave I didn't get. I don't think I had Medine or Nikto, but I had most of the others, and the ATST, the speeder bike, and Jabba the Hutt all for that Christmas, and yeah, he was superb.
Yeah, lads, I never had a Jabba the Hutt as a kid. From a priority point of view, I mean, I think it's excellent now looking back at it, but it wasn't top of my Christmas list or my birthday list, and as such, it never materialized. But looking at it now, yeah, it was one of the first pieces and one of the first playsets which I did get when I started collecting again in 2009. So yeah, I love it, and I think it's a great centerpiece to put loads of other figures around and have dioramas and bits and pieces. So I think they've just done a wonderful job of it.
I still don't get what's going on inside the dais. Is that meant to be the Rancor pit? Is it a prison? I don't know what's going on in there. Or is it just these leftovers from what he's eaten? There's all skulls and rats and heads in there. We always found it a little bit bizarre. I remember thinking that when I was a kid. But yeah, no, it was a fantastic toy. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I remember seeing it in one of the catalogues. I remember it being at my great-grandparents'. I don't know if it was a Freeman's catalogue or something like that, and flicking through, telling my mum I wanted one. But yeah, no, great memories of it. I think it's, brilliant play set. All right, well, about the packaging then. What do we think of the packaging image? Have you had a look at that? I think it's pretty representational.
Yeah, so I didn't have one as a kid, but I got a really nice Kenner one now. I dug it out. I got it in front of me. I think it's brilliant. It's an absolute perfect toy, isn't it? For that era, when Jabba would have been the one you wanted, and it was kept secret, so you didn't know about it. And I guess once it was outed, this would have been flooded everywhere. It's just great. There's lots going on. The wagging tail. Yeah.
I think the Bib Fortuna looks great on there, and because he's got that must be like a prototype staff he's holding. But the Gwyd head looks amazing with that gold belt and the darker cape.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, it bugged me the fact that it had the slave chain on it, and you couldn't get a slave layer. I remember thinking that when I was 4 years old. I wonder if that's a sign that they were planning to do it and got kiboshed.
Could have been.
Maybe.
Move the ship out of the asteroid field so that we can send a clear transmission.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Ron Salvatore of the Star Wars Collectors Archive. Quick, what Return of the Jedi action figures were kept secret from the public until the movie was released? Yeah, Chief Chirpa and Logray. Come on, man, quit acting so pleased with yourself. Everyone knows Chief Chirpa and Logray. It's on the back of the stinking blister card. But there's a third action figure. Can you guess it? I'm waiting. Okay, I'm being cute. Sorry, someone has to go out of his way to make these things entertaining, and it sure isn't going to be you. I'm doing all I can here. The answer is, drumroll, Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt? I know, you're gonna say Jabba doesn't qualify as an action figure. You think I cheated there, that's fine. But let's debate that later on in this discussion. For now, let's focus on the secret part. Yes, Jabba was kept under wraps by Kenner until Return of the Jedi hit theaters, so May of 1983. This was done by mandate of Lucasfilm, who had an interest in maintaining the surprise of the character's big cinematic reveal. For proof of this, just take a gander at Kenner's 1983 Toy Fair catalog. The page devoted to Jabba the Hutt features a large yellow brand printed at its top. It reads, Top Secret. And no photo is provided. In place of the photo is text stating that the product will not be revealed before May 25th, 1983. That is, the debut of Return of the Jedi. I remember it well. My birthday is May 23rd. I was turning 8, and I remember telling my mother that I really should be seeing Return of the Jedi right away. Because, it surely wasn't just some coincidence that George Lucas was releasing it on the weekend following my birthday. I mean, Uncle George was looking out for me. He knows these things. Sadly, my mother didn't see it quite that way. She'd seen on the news that people were waiting in line for days to see the movie, and that's all it took to put the kibosh on that idea. It'll be too crowded, she said. It'll be sold out, and blah, blah, blah. I did, of course, see it, but I had to wait a week or two. But man, I can still remember that wait, and that birthday disappointment. It's the first movie I can recall really anticipating. And boy, when I saw Jabba, he came as a big surprise. He was special, thanks in part to Kenner's efforts at secrecy. Since then, though, the impact of Jabba, the sheer uniqueness of him, has been pretty diluted. Am I crazy in thinking this? Lucasfilm just can't stop giving us Jabba, and I can't help but think it's diminished the character's aura. First there was that CGI Jabba in the special edition that looked like an Atari 2600 graphic. Then he turned up again in The Phantom Menace. Why? Who knows? Then he was in the Boba Fett TV show, or was that his cousin or something? Look, these things all look the same to me. He could have been Garbanzo the Hutt for all I know. As far as I'm concerned, that was Jabba. I think it was actually 2 Jabbas in that horrible show. I mean, who had that bright idea? I can just imagine the writers sitting around and talking like, bro, this is the worst TV show of all time, right? Let's throw 2 Jabbas in there. That can ruin him twice. Now, finally, there's a muscle Jabba in that new movie, The Momolorian and Grinkus. He's a Jimbro Jabba, the creatine Jabba. Give it a rest already. It's too much Jabba. The character long ago ceased to be ominous and became totally corny, like Mr. T when he got a breakfast cereal. I mean, the dude was Clubber Lang and now he wants you to eat him for breakfast. Okay, gotta take a breath there. Back to Kenner's 1983 catalog. Though that catalog did not provide a photo of Jabba, it did offer some text. Here, I'll read it. It's pretty engaging. Imagine, if you will, the most ominous creature in existence. Now imagine that this creature is the ruthless leader of the most dangerous cutthroats in the galaxy. One look into his glassy eyes and kids will know Jabba the Hutt means business. When the head of this footless creature moves, his large menacing tail swishes slowly from side to side. He sits atop a prison platform so he can watch his victims beg for mercy. The prison holds up to 7 Star Wars action figures, has doors that open and close with a flick of a switch, and, as if that isn't enough, there's a slave rope to hold even more of his captives. Jabba the Hutt, his pet, Salacious Crumb, sit and wait, impatiently, to see who will become the next prisoner. Action figures sold separately. Whew, that's some spicy ad copy. It made me a little sweaty just reading that. I love the bit about how the prison holds up to 7 action figures. I mean, yeah, if they're all Ugnaughts and you squish them in there like sardines. Of course, Kenner's marketing guys didn't mention that the figures couldn't stand up inside the prison. They were too smart for that. Jabba was released in 1983, and not just in the United States. In Europe, the toy was released in multilingual packaging. There was also a Canadian release whose box featured text in both French and English. There was even a Mexican release from Lily Lady. About the only unusual variant I'm aware of is the box featuring line art rather than photographs. This box, made of white corrugated cardboard and featuring 2-toned line art depicting Jabba on its sides, has often been characterized as the package used for mail-order Jabba sets. Sometimes it's even specifically attributed to a retailer, like Sears or JCPenney. The problem is, there's no evidence that these boxes were used by catalog retailers. In all my years collecting, I don't think I've seen a single example bearing the stock number of Sears, JCPenney, Ward, or any of the other retailers that publish catalogs. In fact, most of the boxes seem rather new, if they've been folded at all, for many still exist as unused box flats. So what is this box? What does it represent? Well, there are theories, but when you get right down to it, nobody knows. For what it's worth, my favorite theory is that someone, during the later days of the Star Wars toy line, bought a quantity of overstock parts related to the Jabba playset, and then made the box with the idea of reselling those parts on the secondary market. As you may be aware, uncirculated parts related to the Jabba set have always been floating around the hobby. Pipes, Salacious Crumbs, even Jabbas. And at one time, it would have been possible to buy a lot of them. And cheap. On top of that, the art utilized on the box derives from Kenner's Repro Art Book, a collection of line art created by Kenner to assist toy sellers in promoting their wares. So it's not out of the question that someone, recently possessed of Jabba components, made the box with the idea of assembling and selling his own Jabba playsets. If you think this theory is nuts, consider that, not too many years ago, one collector and reseller bought a large quantity of unused pipes from the Jabba playset, and in hopes of aiding their sale, he and his partner created a display box to market them to retail outlets. What was the box decorated with? You guessed it, art derived from Kenner's Repro art book. Hey, you gotta do something with these random parts. What are you gonna do, donate them to Goodwill? Trust me, normal people don't want that garbage. Only collectors buy stuff like that. Really, it's somewhat doubtful those line art boxes for Jabba were even used. Sure, sometimes you see examples purporting to be sealed with a full Jabba playset inside, but it's hard to say when the sealing was done and whether it was done for marketing on the primary or secondary market. Anyway, the line art Jabba box. It's cool, but it remains a mystery, which is fine. Mysteries are fun. Okay, with the line art box out of the way, what else can we discuss that's related to Jabba? What about prototypes? That's a good topic. It'll give us a chance to discuss the toy's development, which is pretty interesting. The earliest photos of Kenner's Jabba, that I'm aware of at any rate, depict not the finalized toy, but rather a conceptual model. This was a handmade three-dimensional model of the toy, which aided Kenner's team in their design and planning. As you might imagine, the figure used in the model is wholly different from what was eventually released. As depicted in existing photographs, the head sits somewhat awkwardly atop the body, and the pipe and gargoyles mounted on the throne are clearly preliminary. The whole thing looks, frankly, a little janky. Though we know from extant prototypes that at one time the body and tail were envisioned as a unified piece of flexible vinyl, the corresponding parts on the model are segmented, as they are on the production toy. So at some point the plan for the toy's composition was modified, probably when someone at Kenner came up with the bright idea of making the tail wag when you moved the head. That, of course, required a tail component that was separate from the body, with both parts being composed of rigid plastic. In addition to the pliable one-part tail, examples of the model's head are also out there. Some of these are cast in a hard urethane material, while others are made of soft vinyl, just like the early tail. Any of these parts constitute real finds for anyone interested in collecting Jabba stuff, or even just prototypes in general. Where the development of the actual production figure is concerned, we know quite a bit. This is because there exists a Kenner document that details exactly what was developed and where. Titled The New Toy Milestone Schedule, the document breaks down exactly what Kenner was developing for the Jabba playset as of August of 1982. It specifies that the tooling used to mass produce the toy was created both overseas and domestically within the United States. The parts created overseas were the head, neck, bowl, collar, and eyes. The head, made of rubber, was rotocast. I believe the other parts were cut directly into steel. Truth be told, I'm not sure what the neck was. Possibly it was an internal component that united the head to the body. Also created overseas, using molds cast out of liquid metal, were the tail, body, salacious crumb, and the stem and mouthpiece belonging to the pipe. Created domestically were the molds for the throne's doors, the gargoyle heads mounted on the front of the throne, the pipe pedestal, and the frogs. Wait, frogs? Yes, frogs! So at least according to this document, the toy was originally conceived as coming with frogs, surely little plastic or rubber guys that were meant to be inserted into the pipe bowl. Clearly, this feature was cancelled, probably very late in the game, or else it wouldn't show up on this document. At the time the document was created, the sculpting of most components was nearing completion, with only the eyes and throne yet to begin. Sculpts for those two items were due by January 1983, a mere 5 months before the debut of the movie. As mentioned earlier, their molds were created in the US, so Kenner had a little leeway there. Speaking of sculpts, several of the original sculpts used to create the Jabba toy still exist. I should know, as I used to own some of them. The wax arms are out there, somewhere, who knows who owns them now. So are the sculpts for the gargoyle and pipe bowl. The wax representing Salacious Crumb survived too. It's very cool and displays evidence of several reworks, possibly done by entirely different sculptors. But sadly I've never seen anything related to those unproduced frogs. Man, I still can't get over those frogs. I want a Jabba playset with frogs. I want my frogs! By the way, in case you're wondering, you can see a lot of these items, including ones related to the conceptual model, on the Star Wars Collector's Archive. The original photo art used to generate the box also survived, and is also on the Star Wars Collector's Archive. Geez, that's another thing I used to own. Obviously I should have kept it. Gosh, what an idiot. Man, this is getting depressing. All this stuff that I could have held on to, but didn't. Well, that's the way it goes, right? Life is a series of letting goes, of relinquishments, of deaths. If it wasn't, we'd live forever, or at least long enough to see Lucasfilm put Jabba into a remake of The Golden Girls, or something equally horrible. Yes, sir, any way you look at it, the Jabba the Hutt playset was a staple of the Return of the Jedi era, easily one of the signature toys of Kenner's Jedi line. Kenner, though, did have plans to release it as part of the Power of the Force line of 1985. We know this because their 1985 catalog shows a mock-up of the toy in a POTF box. Obviously that never happened. The POTF Jabba died along with the entire Star Wars line. Sad. But Kenner's plans related to Jabba the Hutt weren't limited to action figures. They also developed 2 micro-collection sets focused on the nefarious gangster Slug. The smaller of these, called Jabba's Boiler Room, would have focused on the chamber where EV-99 tortures that poor power droid in Return of the Jedi. The figures planned for it were Power Droid, EV-99, Chewbacca, and a Gamorrean guard. The second Jabba set, and the larger of the two, was Jabba's Throne Room. A multi-level affair, this included a full basement to house the Rancor monster. In that sense, the set would have served as a corrective to the larger Jabba set, because it was scaled so that micro-figures weren't forced to lie down inside its prison. Hey, they could stand up in there. Indeed, that lower level was intended to accommodate a whole honking Rancor, albeit a wee diminutive micro one. As planned, the set was to include 10 figures. Luke, Bib Fortuna, R2-D2, C-3PO, Leia, presumably in disguise, Lando, also likely in disguise, Han Solo and Carbonite, the Rancor, a second Gamorrean guard, and the mighty Jabba himself. Thankfully, remnants of a lot of these figures survived, and you guessed it, you can see some on the Star Wars Collector's Archive. Most notable for our purposes is the sculpt for the Jabba figure, which thankfully still exists. It looks pretty much like you'd expect. Like Jabba. Its survival is a tantalizing suggestion of what could have been had the micro line not been cancelled. Oh, that micro Rancor I mentioned earlier? Its sculpt is gone, no longer exists. It was melted down so that its wax could be reused. A sculptor I spoke to years ago vividly remembered watching it being slowly lowered into the molten wax, like Arnold in Terminator 2, destined to be reincarnated as a Care Bear or something equally cringeworthy. Alas, both of these micro Jabba sets were cancelled prior to release of Return of the Jedi, Kenner having accepted by that point that sales of the micro collection would likely remain as puny as its figures. Well, I think that about wraps this up. Wait, I forgot something, didn't I? We didn't discuss whether Jabba qualifies as an action figure. I mean, certainly the micro version doesn't. Micro has no action. But is the released version of Jabba rightly considered part of the action figure line? Normally I'd say no. To me, the action figures consist of those figures that Kenner advertised on the reverse of the action figure blister card. Plus, I guess Sice Noodles and the Rebo Band, because, clearly those are action figures. What else are you gonna call them? Jabba to me falls into the category of action figure accessories. I think it's reasonable to characterize him as a creature along with the Tauntaun and Rancor. Look, there's a problem with an overly liberal application of the action figure designation. That is, taken far enough, every darn thing becomes an action figure. Those rubbish droids from the Droid Factory? Action figures. Yoda Snake? An action figure. The cylinder from the Dagobah playset that slides up R2's butt? Clearly an action figure. You see the problem here? People inevitably get carried away. On the other hand, do you recall that catalog description I so helpfully intoned near the start of this recording? The one from Kenner's official wholesale catalog? Well, the text in that catalog clearly refers to Jabba as the Jabba the Hutt action figure. So look, if Kenner called him an action figure, I suppose you can too. I mean, no one's gonna stop you in any event. There's no law enforcing this policy. So call it what you will. Until next time, guys.
The Force is back. The rebels won't tire till they see the last of the Empire. And Kenner's there with Star Wars Return of the Jedi Collection.
The next prisoner, Gamorrean Guard. Gladly, Jabba the Hutt.
C-3PO, Gamorrean Guard, and Jabba the Hutt Playset, each sold separately.
Mr. Hutt, you've captured my friend. Free him and keep me instead. That's a sorry tale, but this tale make you sorrier.
Jabba the Hutt Playset and other action figures, each sold separately from Star Wars Return of the Jedi Collection from Kenner.
Well, that was a bit of a barnstorm with that one there from Ron, wasn't it?
Indeed, it was.
Yeah.
Most Americans have got World Cup fever at the minute. It's like he's got Jabba the Hutt fever. Well done. Thank you for that, Ron. That was fantastic. How'd you come down on that? Is he an action figure or is he a beast / playset?
I'd go playset, right? It's a playset. It says playset on the box.
What about you? What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same for me, to be honest.
Man, I'm counting him as an action figure. Next time we do figure of the year, I'm putting Jabba the Hutt in there. What? I don't get it. He's a sentient creature. He's not like a Wampa or a Tauntaun. He's a character, surely, and Salacious Crumb.
He is, but you know, where do you draw the line? I mean, if you're just going to say action figure or playset, I mean, for me, if it's a figure that comes, you know, in a blister pack on a cart, then.
But what makes it a playset? I don't understand what constitutes a playset.
See, the one that's probably a bit more sort of borderline would be the Wampa.
Yeah, but he don't talk. He doesn't talk. He's not a character in the film.
But I could see that being more figure-ish. Do you know what I mean? But this one, it comes to the base. I know there's two figures there, but it's you know, the base is a playset as well. But if it comes on a box, it's a playset. If it comes on a blister card, it's a figure. There we go.
Yeah, here, I agree with that, Nine. I'll back you up on that. And it's got all the different things with it. It's a play environment, so it's a playset, right? You can sort of stage figures on it. You can do stuff with it. You can open up the dungeon bit. You got a pipe. You got the chain.
Pipe.
So if you take all that away and you just have Jabba the Hutt on his own,
yeah, but you haven't.
No, but you can take all that away. He breaks it. You know, he's his own thing. Same as Salacious Crumb. They're going in next year's figure championship. I'm telling you.
Well, what about the Rancor? What about the Rancor?
Yeah, but he ain't got a brain, has he? He's not. He doesn't have a talking part in the film.
So that's what constitutes whether it's a figure or not. If it can talk.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Now we've got to go through all the figures that can't talk.
Who beats? They can all talk. Who can't talk? FX7.
There you go.
Well, we'll cross him off then. We'll knock him out of next year's tournament. I'm not worried about him, but I think everyone pretty much else has got vocal cords.
But are you going vocal cords or speaking roles? Death Squad commanders don't say anything, do they? Does Death Squad commander say anything in the movie?
He could though, if he could. If George Lucas had put it in the film, he could have.
The definition has now changed, isn't it? So it's not even figure and playset now. It's like vocal cords and playsets.
Yeah, I was hoping I was going to win this because Stuart went in, because I know he wouldn't count it, because I know when he's talked about, he gets the ump with me having the escape pod in with my loose collection. So, anyways,
no, it's part of the playset.
No, okay. So, Martin, then, do you want to give us the lowdown on prices and what boxes he was available in?
Yeah, so loose. So they're absolutely shed loads on eBay, generally around the £55 to £75 mark. There were some loose complete ones with partially bagged accessories for £60. A very similar set, again with partially bagged accessories for £100. One that was graded though, so it's a loose figure on the base with 3 different compartments which all had baggies in for the accessories. That was UKG 85 and that sold for £275.
So it's pretty affordable then, really, considering the bits and pieces it comes with.
Plenty of options. I wouldn't necessarily have gone for grading the thing. I don't sort of like that so much with the loose collection with the bits and pieces with it.
I mean, we haven't mentioned it on the show yet, but we've each sent some stuff off for grading, haven't we? So it'd be interesting when we get that stuff back and do a bit of a grading show. I'd be interested. We can talk about all of that.
Yeah.
Grading of box vehicles then and taking them out and having all their constituted parts in sections. It's all a bit weird, isn't it, doing that? I think, well, personally, it'd be great to get someone on the show who doesn't and hear their side of the story.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A sealed example sold at Vectis in April 2026 for £340. An example where all of the accessories were still bagged sold on eBay in April 26 for £320. And one of the line-art box variations that Ron spoke about sold at Hakes. Now we have to go back a bit for this. This was July 2023, but that sold for $865, which is approximately £650. Moving on to the Palitoy by Logo box complete, Vectis recently sold one in April 26, which was a little bit scruffy and had no inserts, and that went for £190. In the same month on eBay, another one that was a little scruffy and was in fact missing one of the end panels, also with no inserts, sold for $70. We have to go back quite a way to find a nice graded example that sold. It was a Vectis November 24, AFA 75, and that sold for £530. And finally, Kenner Canada box complete. November 2023, Hakes sold a sealed graded AFA 80 for $590, which is about £440. In July 2023, Hakes sold a sealed graded AFA 80 for $722, which is about £540. In March 2023, Hakes sold a sealed graded AFA 85 for $1,713, which is approximately £1,280. And in January 2023, they sold a complete boxed ungraded for $321, which is about £240.
Yeah, I think though that difficulty getting a box Jabba the Hutt is getting all the inserts as well, though, isn't it? That tends to affect the price because a lot of them it's just slid inside a flimsy box, and finding them with all these inserts costs a little bit more. But yeah. No, it is a good one, and yeah, if you want to buy one and then upgrade and get all the bagged accessories, that's fairly easy as well. Certainly the pipe and the bowl and things like that. There seems to be an absolute shed load of them available if you want to go and get them bagged.
Yeah, and Salacious Crumbs as well. It's quite a bit. Did you?
Yeah, they all get sold individually as well on eBay, don't they? So you don't have to wait long before they come up as well. So yeah, if you wanted to put together a decent set, that's certainly doable. Sort of chasing it down in individual pieces.
Yeah, just back on prices. So did you mention the or did you see the one that went through Hakes, the Jeff Jacob one? It was graded 85 and sold for $38,940.
Wow, that's an expensive Jabba the Hutt.
It's just bonkers. You could, I don't know, I expect you could, not graded, you could probably buy cases of that for that amount of money, couldn't you?
That was quite weird, wasn't it? Because that one sold in May of 25, but they actually sold another one in July of 25 as well. That was also AFA 85, and that sold for $3,570.
What? That's a bad day at the office. Well, that's some algorithm has screwed you over there to pay. Yeah, I mean, I know you got grade chasers, but
yeah,
that's just bonkers money. But anyway, yeah. I hope whoever bought it is enjoying it.
Yeah, but I mean that's a 35 grand delta on price in 4 months.
Yeah,
pretty mad. That is just, someone must have really just wanted an 85.
Yeah, and probably wishes that he just waited a little bit longer.
I suppose it shows that, with something like Hakes with a big auction like that, it really, I know obviously Jeff Jacobs really went after the quality clearly, and people wanted a piece of it, and it was so well advertised. It was just on everyone's radar, wasn't it? It was just an easy way of getting the things that you needed. You just willing to pay a premium for it to get there. I think I've been there. I've overbid on stuff on auctions before just because it's there and I want it, and just the way you get 2 people bidding on it, and the next thing you know, it's 38 grand.
Oh yeah, I look at that stuff a lot, but I'm just a bit wary about getting stuff over from the States and what other charges are going to come in on top. But yeah, some phenomenal bits have gone through this year.
Pizza the Hutt! Well, if it isn't Lone Star and his sidekick, Puke.
That's barf.
Barf, puke, whatever. Where's my money?
Don't worry, Pizza. You'll have it by next week.
No. I gotta have it by tomorrow.
100,000 space bucks? By tomorrow?
100,000? Ha ha ha! No way! You forgot late charges, which brings it up to 1 million space bucks.
1 million? That's unfair.
Unfair to the payor, but not to the payee.
There's one bit from Beyond the Toys which I would love to talk about, which is the Jabba Play-Doh sets. You know, these things, they still hold a fair penny now. You don't see them that often at all. It's a great kit. Play-Doh. I mean, who didn't play with Play-Doh as a kid? But the Jabba the Hutt Play-Doh set is really, really great. Now, you know, I'm going to talk about the Kenner one, and I'll come on to a little bit more in a second. But yeah, I just wanted to read out an element from the catalogue, which you get with these Play-Doh sets as well. Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, the Jabba the Hutt Playset. Kids can recreate their own new Star Wars movie with the Jabba the Hutt Playset. The set contains 4 molds to make 8 characters like, and in capital letters, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia Organa, and the Jabba the Hutt. A playmat with a totally new scene from the movie, the Jabba the Hutt Castle. A great new vehicle from the movie in which the characters can ride, and 3 6-ounce cans of Play-Doh, modelling compound, and a roller. So let's just break that down a little bit. The fact that they called the Jabba the Hutt Palace a castle, I think is pretty cool. But yeah, what do you get in it then? So it's mentioned the molds. Now within the molds you get Han and Carbonite, which is brilliant. You get a Bib Fortuna, you get a Luke Skywalker, you get a Squid Head, you get a Gamguard and a Leia Bouche. When you sort of turn that one over, the Gamguard comes with a separate axe, and the Leia Bouche comes with a separate little sort of palace blaster. So yeah, some real great figures there, but it also comes with a mini skiff for you to put the figures on. And yes, it comes with the roller and the knife and the 3 cans of Play-Doh. Really, really well detailed. The more I've looked at this, the better it is. I think it's brilliant. It's really, really good. Comes with the standard sort of Kenner We Do Care certificate and a catalogue as well. But it wasn't just the Kenner version, which you see. It was also sold in Europe. You know, there's a Klepper version from the Netherlands. There's a Canadian Parker, Canadian ones which I've seen, but also the Lily Leddy one. So there's a Lily Leddy Mexican one, slightly different molds, but says Supermassa top left, which I think is pretty cool. So all in all, when you consider that Jabba the Hutt playset, it just it looks the business, lads. That's my one for this episode.
Some bits that I've found to sort of having a rummage through. So yeah, sort of good old trusty Topps trading card pack. I think Series 2. He's featured on one of the packs on there. Looking pretty good. All big green Jabba. We got the bright red Return of the Jedi logo. That's quite a nice, easy pickup. Vintage card backs, always nice to have. I also found, whether it is Beyond Toys or not, but we haven't brought it up yet, so I'll throw it into this bit. The display header. So you got the Star Wars action figures Collectables 65. You got the Emperor's Royal Guard in the middle. You got Chewbacca. You got Gamorrean Guard. You got Chief Chirpa, and you got Bib Fortuna on there. So that's such a nice piece. I've always admired these. So he certainly features on there. And I ended up buying a print. Kim Simmons was doing prints of these. So it was the original artwork, which was by John Hamm, not John Hamm from Madman, but John Hamm from the illustration world. I got a really nice little signed and numbered print of that. So yeah, it's quite a nice Bib Fortuna piece. Not strictly Beyond the Toys, but yeah, not a toy. So I'm going to claim it for this inch.
Martin, you got any Beyond the Toys bits you picked out?
What about the Sigma bib?
Yes,
I think that's nice.
Yeah, I've had one of the 2 of them in my time. Yeah, they're very good. And then the other bit for Bib as well is that star badge. I think the glowing red eyes on that absolutely suit him down to the ground. I don't think
it's quite freaky, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks quite.
Yeah,
it's quite creepy.
WCA.
Yeah. And we got the candy heads. We've spoken about them before. When we did a couple of the bounty hunters, we had Boba Fett in there and Bosk, and we got a Jabba the Hutt one in the Jedi range, and a couple of nice money boxes as well. I hadn't seen this one before. As a ceramic money box. I think that looks fantastic.
Yeah,
quite a happy looking Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
I Is that Sigma? Is it? I think it is Sigma. I'd never seen that before. I don't know. I've missed that. I think I would buy that if I saw that. I think that's great. The other bits that jumped out for me, we always end up talking about biscuits and cookies, don't we? I think we must like our food on this podcast. But the Pepperidge Farm cookies, they've got the actual moulds for the cookies in there. So they've got the Jabba the Hutt ones on the archive. There's a few other characters as well, but obviously we're talking about Jabba the Hutt today, so I think that was pretty cool as well. On the archive, they've got the Omni Bubble Bath and Jabba the Hutt original sculpt for it. So it's a wood sculpt to the original figure. Cap shampoo by Omni Cosmetics. The piece was carved from what appeared to be from oak and coloured on the inside exactly as the cap itself. Scaled 1 to 2, every detail is captured in the plastic and is visible in the wood. Foam fawn fitted base is mostly of mahogany and several pieces attached together by screws and putty. But yeah, imagine that surviving.
That's amazing.
It's mad, some of the stuff that has survived.
Yeah. But I think, he was so prevalent, it was in the range. I mean, he's on Burger King glass, he's on the Return of the Jedi vinyl carry case, like you mentioned before, Topps cards. According to Ron, they were trying to keep him a secret. Obviously, he lined it with the blacked out Ewoks on the back of the 65 packs, but it didn't feel like it was a secret at the time. Maybe that's just because the age I was at the time, but it didn't feel like when I saw Return of the Jedi first time that Jabba the Hutt was a big surprise. Do you remember him being a big surprise when you first saw the movie?
I'm sure that he was part of that preview that I saw as a kid one morning before school. As I said, I think it was on Breakfast TV. I'm sure we saw him.
Yeah. No, he's a great character. I think I really like Jabba the Hutt. I went back and watched all these scenes again on YouTube when I was getting ready for this, and you think of all the different versions of Jabba the Hutt they've done over the years, whether it was a special editions, Phantom Menace. We've seen more Hutts more recently in the Disney Plus stuff, and then Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't think you can beat that puppet. I think what they did there was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. They didn't get anywhere near it, I don't think.
No.
Also with the toy as well. You look at all the reissues of the toy.
Yeah.
Playset. That
it always looks off, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, this
just doesn't look quite right. Just whether
Yeah.
it's quite simple, quite straightforward, but it just really works. The original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the advert for it? Have you watched the Kenner advert for it? And,
No, not recently. I have to
They use the obviously he's got the moving towel and there's a C-3PO figure standing there and they flip the towel and send C-3PO flying off. That was good use of the action feature. Anything else on Jabba the Hutt then, fellas?
I just had a quick flick through this second Tamar book. On page 33, there's a Japanese pop-out mask. It's a pretty funny piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to dig out my Tomart's guidebook. I haven't seen it for a while, but it's a brilliant book.
No, they are good. They are really good. Mine's really...
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want a mint one. I'm quite happy having my tatty one. It's battered, my one, but I think it just adds to the character of it.
They're both brilliant. You can pick them up. Yeah, my first one is Annihilated because I just went through that back in the day so much. If you can get them cheap, I think they're worth sort of picking up at shows.
I've just found a Kentucky Fried Chicken cup from Puerto Rico in my Tomart guide that's got Bib Fortuna, Jabba, Guard, Max Rebo Band. That's brilliant. I've never seen that before. It's just, every time I pick this book up, you just flick through it and find something you've never noticed before.
Yeah.
It's well worth doing Jabba the Hutt. Seemed the right time after we'd watched Mandalorian and Grogu and seen his son in all his six-pack action fighting in a ring.
Oh, yeah, still trying to get over that.
Let's go, and don't forget the droids. We're on our way.
Well, that's the end for this show. We hope you've enjoyed it. In the next episode of Those Old Fossils, we're going to stick around in Jabba's Palace for one more episode, and we're going to take a look at the Rancor and the Rancor Keeper. But if you're looking for more Generation Skywalker, we have a back catalogue now of over 170 shows, including the first episode of Bound for Tracking, where we're going to be taking a look at all 35 of the original issues of the official Star Wars Fan Club newsletter. taking it one issue at a time, starting with issue 1, and issue 2 is being prepped at the minute. So if you've enjoyed the first episode, we've got more of that to come. We also have more vintage collecting with the previous 36 episodes of those old fossils, plus 5 guides to Palitoy, plus modern collecting with the modern way, committees, interviews, movie commentaries and more. And if you've enjoyed any of our shows, why not thank us with a follow and a 5-star review. On socials, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram for the latest Generation Skywalker show announcements and more. Just search Generation Skywalker to find us. And thank you once again to Ron Salvatore from the SWCA. Make sure you check out their site and take a look at some of those Jabba the Hutt prototyped items he's mentioned, as well as Beyond the Toys items we've also mentioned. And thank you again also to Mark from Variant Villains, and definitely check out that new baggy guide. So with that, it's goodbye from Pete.
Nice one. Cheers, guys. Good night.
It's goodbye from Martin.
Good night, everyone.
It is goodbye from Jez.
Me charger so goody. See you next time.
And it's goodbye from me. We are Generation Skywalker. All errors, all passions, all Star Wars.